The transition from turboprops to early jets is hard. You go from planes that have a large focus on acceleration, climb rate, and low speed maneuverability to aircraft that are essentially the complete opposite in all those categories, and this can be an absolutely brutal shift for newer players. Today, I'm going to go over the most important skills plus some common mistakes for people new to jets. Then, I'll offer my recommendations for the best rank 5 to unlock first for every nation. By the way, this is an ARB focused video, but I still recommend watching if you're an arcade guy. Maybe you'll realize why you weren't succeeding in RB. So you've finally done it. You got your first jet, and it's just not at all going how you imagined. We've all been there. You're overconfident, thinking you're gonna run circles around all those pathetic props, and wow, that's a major skill issue. Except it's not really a skill issue, you just haven't learned the #1 rule of early jets. You must maintain your energy. Almost everyone has heard some variation of the phrase, "speed is life," and this is absolutely true. But the issue is that this piece of advice is very challenging to follow in early jets. What are the most common traits of early jets? Terrible acceleration and garbage energy retention, which mean it's hard to get up to speed and easy to lose it. And since most early jets can't even turn at low speed, you can't defend yourself. So how do you even maintain your energy? The best way is to climb to the side at around a 12-degree angle. If you get up to turn even further to the side so that you're not meeting vastly superior planes head on. Then, climb to about 4 kilometers. After that, fly in a straight line to build up speed. The goal isn't necessarily to climb as high as possible, this can cause problems of its own, but to be going as fast as possible at a reasonably high altitude. This will give you an advantage against the props that may be higher but won't be going as fast, and against some of the other jet players who don't understand the value of altitude yet. This leads us into common mistake #1. Some people are conscious of the fact that they need to build up a lot of speed, but they forget to climb. This will lead you susceptible to boom and zoom attacks and will put you in a terrible position if you attempt to engage anyone with more altitude. Another critical part of energy management with early jets: don't be afraid to run. Let me create a scenario to illustrate what I mean. Say I'm in the F-80A at 2.5 kilometers, flying about 500 kilometers per hour. I spot a Spitfire rapidly closing in from a higher altitude. I know I can't turn fight him, and he'll catch me if I stay at the same altitude. My best course of action is to exchange some altitude for speed in order to get away. From there, he might rip his wings trying to follow, or more likely realize it's fruitless and find someone else to go after. The most consistent way to get kills, especially in up tiers, is to tactically third-party people. Don't steal kills that your teammate clearly has in the bag, but if they're saying they need help or clearly losing a dogfight, coming in at high speed to blast the enemy is not only the easiest way to get kills, but critically important to your team's success. Tip #2. Play sensibly in down tiers. Obviously, it will be immediately clear when you get down tiered in a jet fighter, but something else will also become immediately apparent. Damn, this thing is slow. Something that's critical to understand is that you won't be out climbing props. You probably won't even be going much faster than them while you climb. The key is, again, to stay out of the way and keep your distance until you can build an energy advantage, which is easier to do against props since their top speeds, especially at altitude, just aren't competitive with you. Common mistake #2. Don't be that guy who assumes that they're automatically better than every prop at everything, and then dies trying to turn fight some dude who's in a G56 and has been playing since beta. Unless you pick up some pay to win premium, all the props are going to be out turning and out accelerating you at low speeds. One role that will be especially important for you to fill as a jet in a 7.0 lobby is to take care of that guy in space in his bomber. Your teammates and props won't be able to catch him, but you'll have substantially better speed at altitude. It might be boring, but it's an extremely important role for you to fill unless you want to lose on tickets, which is just the worst feeling. Seriously, man? Tip #3. Know your guns well. Anyone, even people who don't know what War Thunder is, could probably inference that being able to aim your guns is an important skill. But there's a considerable difference between the way you'll be using your guns in props versus jets. The main skill that carries over is leading people accelerating away from you, especially since people rely on this a lot in early jets. Beyond that, the way you'll be using your guns is going to change a lot. With props, a lot of it is just letting it rip on people who are trying to turn away. Accuracy isn't a huge deal because you generally get a good amount of ammo. With jets, ammo count tends to decrease. The speeds that fights will happen at get higher and higher, which in turn makes it harder and harder to aim. Soviet aircraft really suffer here with inaccurate, low-velocity, low-capacity guns. US mains have it extremely easy in this category, since they've probably been used to the 50 cal for quite a while and they get to keep on using it. Germans though, yeah, good luck with those MK108s at high speed. Trigger discipline is essential. Even if you have a lot of ammo, it'll be running out quicker than you think. Also, this is a more general skill that isn't at all unique to jets, but you should have some understanding of target prioritization, which is basically where you go for enemies that are in a lower energy state than you or distracted, rather than the guy who's closest to you. Tip number 4, be situationally aware. Like tip number 1, this is extremely redundant and probably something you've heard before, but basically, all it boils down to is to make sure you are making a conscious effort to frequently check what's going on around you. Eventually, it'll become second nature. This is not only something that you need to learn early on if you want to have any sort of fun when you get to missile tiers, but it will also give you an advantage against your enemies who might be having trouble adjusting to the pace of jet combat. Now, I want to offer my recommendations as to the best first jet to pick up for every nation. For the US, you can't really go wrong with any of these, but they all have different strengths. The F-88 is pretty maneuverable but lacks firepower and has a bad engine. The F-84 is quicker and has better guns, but isn't very maneuverable, which makes down tiers quite boring in a lot of cases. The F-2H has the best guns, decent speed, and good maneuverability, but it leaves you exposed to 8.3 up tiers, which can be disastrous. My personal pick would be the F-84 because it gives you access to the F-86s, but the best choice overall is probably the F-2H. For Germany, there isn't an extremely strong choice out of any of the first few jet fighters you can unlock. You can challenge yourself with the 262 A1U4 in order to get the decent A1 Yabo. You can go full normie and get the regular 262, but this isn't really as viable ever since the 163 got nerfed. Or you can suffer through the HE-162 in order to get the MiG-15. I wouldn't recommend the HO-229 though. Z-tier energy retention in a jet with terrible power is never a winning combo. Also, the Squadron Hunter is really good, so make sure you're already researching that. For the USSR, there again really isn't a good choice with the first couple of jet fighters, so the least painful thing you can do is probably to grind out the MiG line with the Yak-3U until you get the MiG-15. If you really want to be that guy, it's also pretty easy to bomb with the IL-28 until you get the MiG-15s and use those from there. For Great Britain, most of your early options are actually pretty decent. Everything except the attacker will be pretty good in terms of turn rate and dogfighting ability. I wouldn't get the Swift because it's probably exposing you to a higher BR than you're ready for. I'd say the best option is to get the first meteor, get the C meteor, and then you can branch out to whatever interests you. For Japan, your best option as a new player is definitely the F-84G. You can use it to unlock the first Saber and then switch to that. By the way, if you're disappointed you missed out on the R2Y2s, I wouldn't worry. They're really over-tiered in this day and age and mostly serve as collector's items. Even as someone who dropped everything to grind for them when I found out they were going to get removed, I never actually play them. For China, you're probably tempted to go for the Saber, but again, the best option for brand new jet players is the F-84G. But if you think you're ready, the Saber is definitely the coolest pick. I will say that under no circumstances should you go for the MiG-9 unless it's your only option. For Italy, there's a similar predicament with China, with the fairly advanced MiG-15 BIST available right off the bat, but honestly, I wouldn't recommend it for new players. It's an energy monster, but it also has terrible compression issues and requires great aim. The G91 and Vampire are fine, but again poorly suited for noobs. If you're one of the rare few who chose Italy as their first air treat, I'd get the F-84. For France, I'd do the F-84 if you're not confident in your skills, but for people who feel a little more experienced, I'd get the Belgian Meteor. The most important thing is that I would not go for any of these things. Sweden is the first easy choice in a while, SK-60B all the way. The A-28 is over-tiered and just not that fun, and these things are outright terrible, but the SK-60 and subsequent Saab 105 are extremely fun and unique. The SK is a deceptively good turn fighter while still having decent engine power and an air spawn, plus it gives you access to the mid but interesting 105. For Israel, the choice is also extremely clear. Just get the Meteor. I highly doubt anyone actually needed to hear this, but the Meteor clears compared to the French thing. Actually, just avoid all the French jets in the Israeli tree, because unless you count the Kafir, they're all bad. And that'll do it for today. If you want to advise me on how this video could have been better, consider commenting, and as always, thank you for watching all the way to the end.